Hey, my friend. Tonight we step into a small village nestled at the foot of a mountain in feudal Japan around the 14th century, where silvery moonlight bathes thatched roofs and the deep forest whispers ancient secrets. Picture yourself standing on a dirt path, the scent of pine and hearth smoke drifting by, the wind weaving through leaves like a lullaby. This isn't a samurai film with epic battles or a dazzling palace rife with intrigue. This is real life, full of sweat, superstition, and ordinary people living under the shadow of fear. Fear of Kitsune, the fox spirits believed to carry curses and magic. You won't survive the night, trust me, especially when the forest starts to whisper. So, before you get too cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I'm doing here. Leave a comment, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is, or type the number 1 to say, this story intrigues you. Now, turn off the lights, maybe switch on a fan for a gentle hum, and let's embark on tonight's journey together. You're here, in a village whose name time has forgotten, but let's call it Forest's Edge Village, for it lies beneath towering pines, where moonlight rarely reaches. This village is home to a few dozen families, farmers, weavers, and a handful of dreamers who think they might escape a life of toil. Our protagonist is Aiko, a woman around 30, not a princess or mystical shrine maiden, but a mother, a wife, a survivor. Aiko isn't remarkable to the world. She can't read sutras, owns no fine silk, but she has something no one can steal: grit. Can you see her? Hair tied high with a cloth, coarse tunic smudged with dirt, calloused hands, but eyes sharp as a wakizashi blade. She's the heart of her family. Her husband, Hiroshi, a quiet blacksmith, and their 2 children, 12-year-old Kenta, mischievous but kind, and 7-year-old Hana, always clinging to her mother's skirt. Step into Aiko's world. Her home is a modest thatched hut, its packed earth floor hard, its roof of dried leaves rustling with each gust. A small hearth in one corner blackens the walls with smoke, and a single tatami mat, lined with straw and coarse cloth, serves as the family's bed. Can you see it? No spring mattresses or down blankets here. But to Aiko, this is her world, a place to laugh, cry, and keep her family safe. Are you still with me? Good, because this world is about to get very, very strange. The Kamakura era wasn't the time of glamorous samurai from films. For people like Aiko, the greatest enemies weren't swords, but the unseen: hunger, disease, and whispers from the deep forest. Kitsune, fox spirits, aren't just bedtime tales to scare children. Villagers believe they're foxes with magic, able to shapeshift into humans, cast curses, or possess the weak-willed. Can you hear the wind? It whistles through the trees, as if recounting stories of Kitsune luring villagers astray or blighting crops. Aiko grew up with these tales. Her grandmother spoke of a hunter vanishing after seeing glowing eyes in the woods. Her mother warned of a woman driven mad by a Kitsune spell. But now, in 1350, things seem calm. The rice fields glow golden, the village market buzzes, and children play by the stream, tossing stones to see who throws farthest. Can you hear it? The trickle of water, the chirping birds. Aiko humming a folk song while weaving cloth. Imagine sitting with Aiko on her porch, watching the children scamper. She can't read sutras, but she understands the forest. She notices small signs. Last night's owl hoot lingered too long, or a flickering light in the woods no one can explain. The forest is saying something, she says, half joking, half serious. Want to know a secret? Kamakura-era people had no science or Google to fact-check. They relied on intuition, stories, and rituals to stay safe. Aiko is a master at reading these signs, not because she's wiser than others, but because she has to be. Living under the forest's shadow means always being vigilant, ready to face something nameless. But how? And against what? That's the question you and Aiko will explore together. Before we go further, think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever feared something intangible? A feeling, a rumor, a shadow at the window? Now, imagine your entire world, home, family, beliefs, hinging on keeping those fears from becoming real. That's Aiko's life. She has no time to dream of Kyoto or grand temples. She's busy weaving, cooking porridge, teaching Hana to tie knots. But don't think she's frail. Aiko is a warrior, not with a sword, but with a loom, a pot, and an iron will. Can you see her checking the door? She hangs a paper talisman, inscribed with warding symbols, to protect her family. If the Kitsune come, she mutters, they won't get in. This village isn't just Aiko's home. It's a community where everyone knows each other's names, squabbles over stray chickens, and shares porridge in lean times. There's Sumi, the tofu seller at the market, Taro, the storyteller of ghosts, and young Yuki, always staring into the forest as if enchanted. Can you hear the laughter from the next house, the clang of Hiroshi's hammer forging a blade, the children shouting as they spot a small snake? This is life, simple, repetitive, yet steeped in mystery. Have you ever thought your own life might hold hidden secrets? Aiko knows it does, but she doesn't let fear win. Are you ready to step into her world? Because this story is about to get stranger, and you, yes, you're here to witness it all. You awaken under silvery moonlight, sitting on Aiko's porch, where the scent of hearth smoke mingles with pine from the nearby forest. The wind whistles through the trees, carrying whispers that feel like a story you're not ready to hear. Aiko kneels by her loom, hands deftly weaving cloth, but her eyes occasionally dart to the darkness beyond the door. Forest's edge. Village, peaceful by day, now lies in stillness, broken only by the hum of insects and a distant owl's hoot. Can you feel the night's chill, even with the hearth burning? Tonight, rumors of Kitsune, fox spirits, creep through every home like smoke through a crack. Do you have the courage to listen to those whispers with Aiko? Let your mind sink into the village's atmosphere. The villagers, weary from a day in the fields, don't sleep yet. Can you hear the murmurs from Sumi's house? She's telling her daughter of a hunter who vanished in the forest after meeting the glowing eyes of a Kitsune. Old Taro, the storyteller, sits by his hearth, his gravelly voice recounting a legend of a woman driven mad for refusing rice to a fox. "They're not beasts," he says. "They're messengers of the gods." Aiko, catching snippets through the thin thatched wall, pauses her weaving for a moment, her hand tightening on the thread. "Do you see her eyes? Not fear, but vigilance, like someone who knows the dark always hides something. Have you ever heard a rumor you wanted to dismiss, yet it lingered?" Aiko feels that now. Step out to the village market, though it's now just empty stalls under the moon. Today, Yuki, the dreamy young girl, told Sumi she saw flickering lights in the forest last night. "It was a kitsune," Yuki whispered, her eyes alight, half fearful, half enchanted. Sumi waved it off, but you notice she double-checked the paper talisman on her door before bed. Aiko, hearing the story from Kenta as he ran back from the market, frowns. "Don't talk nonsense," she scolds, but you know she's not angry at him. She's angry at the unease spreading through the village. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune could shapeshift into humans, often beautiful women, to deceive men or punish the stingy. Aiko isn't convinced, but she hangs an extra talisman at the door, as her mother taught. Return to Aiko's house, where the hearth crackles. Hiroshi, her husband, sits nearby, sharpening a blade, silent. Can you hear the whetstone's rhythm? Steady, but sharp, like a heartbeat bracing for something. "Just children's tales," he says when Aiko mentions Yuki's rumor. But you see him glance at the door, as if ensuring the darkness holds nothing. Hana, the 7-year-old, clings to her mother's skirt, asking, "Are kitsune real, Mama?" Aiko smiles, stroking her hair. "They're only real if you fear them." Have you ever comforted someone to mask your own worry? Aiko does, and you see strength in how she holds Hana, as if shielding her from the entire forest. Feel the night's air. The owl's hoot draws closer, and a cold gust slips through the door, making the hearth flames flicker. Aiko rises, checks the paper talisman, and sprinkles salt around the threshold, a ritual her mother taught to ward off spirits. "Salt keeps them out," she mutters, half joking. Can you see it? She's not sure Kitsune exist, but she takes no chances. Kenta, usually mischievous, is oddly quiet, eyes fixed on the window. "I saw a light in the forest," he whispers, and Aiko turns, quick as lightning. "Don't talk nonsense." But you know what she's thinking. Yuki's light, the owl, the rumors are weaving into an invisible fear. Have you ever felt a fear grow, despite trying to dismiss it? Aiko feels it, and you're here, by the hearth, with her. Dive deeper into her mind. Aiko doesn't fear ghosts like Sumi or Taro. She fears what fear can do to the village. She recalls her mother's tale of a winter when Kitsune rumors turned neighbors against each other, blaming the innocent. "Fear is the real curse," her mother said, and Aiko carries those words. Do you see how she tends the hearth? She keeps the fire burning, not just for warmth, but to banish darkness, both outside and within. Have you ever kept something alight just to remind yourself you're stronger than fear. Aiko does, and you see her preparing for the days ahead. Stay here, under the moonlight. Do you see Aiko's eyes? Sharp, yet gentle, as if she knows you're here. Don't let the forest scare you, she says, her voice soft. Do you believe her? Because the Kitsune rumors are just the beginning, and Aiko, with all her grit, will lead you through the shadow of fear. Still with me? Good, because you're here, on her porch, with her, waiting for what the forest will bring. The moonlight glimmers on the thatched roofs of Forest's Edge Village, but the darkness from the nearby forest seems denser, as if swallowing the light. You stand beside Aiko in her small house, where the hearth's flickering flames cast shadows on the earthen walls. An owl's hoot echoes from afar, sharper than last night, and the wind whistles through the door's cracks, carrying whispers no one wants to hear. Aiko sits by her loom, hands still weaving, but you see her pause, ear tilting toward the door, as if waiting for something. Kenta, her son, clutches a pillow, eyes fixed on the window, while Hana sleeps soundly, straw doll in hand. Hiroshi, her husband, sharpens a blade slowly, his gaze never leaving the paper talisman on the door. Can you feel the chill seeping through the gaps, despite the fire? Tonight, you'll step into Aiko's daily life, where fear of Kitsune, fox spirits, is no mere rumor, but a shadow creeping into every corner. Do you have the courage to stay with her? Aiko's house is a small fortress against the dark. Can you see how she arranges everything? Rice in cloth sacks tied tightly on a bamboo rack, dry firewood neatly stacked by the hearth, a water jug by the door, as if she's always ready for the unexpected. Must be prepared, she says, her voice low, checking the paper talisman for the third time. Have you ever double-checked a lock just for peace of mind? Aiko does, but not because she's superstitious like Sumi or Taro. She does it for Kenta and Hana, sleeping behind her. Do you see her eyes? Not fear, but resolve, like someone who knows the dark can hide anything, yet she won't let it touch her family. Sit by the hearth, feel the faint warmth. Aiko tells you about her day, as if you're an old friend. This morning, she went to the rice fields, checking the ripening stalks, but found some wilted unnaturally. Not pests, she mutters, like a curse. Can you hear her voice? Calm, but you know she's thinking of Yuki's tale, the flickering light in the forest. The market was different today, too. Sumi sold tofu with a worried face, whispering to customers that her cat vanished last night. Kitsune took it, she said, and though Aiko waved it off, you see she checked the chicken coop more thoroughly when she got home. Have you ever had a rumor stick with you, despite trying to ignore it? Aiko feels it, and it keeps her alert. Picture walking with Aiko to the chicken coop behind the house. She holds a bamboo stick, tapping the ground lightly, as if warding something off. No eggs today, she says, her voice low. Can you see it? The chickens huddle, heads tucked under wings, unnaturally silent. Aiko sprinkles salt around the coop, a habit her mother taught. Salt keeps us safe, she says. but you know she's not certain. Hiroshi, from inside, calls, "Don't worry, it's just the wind." But you see him hang another talisman at the back door, as if the wind isn't his only concern. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune feared salt and paper talismans, but could shapeshift into humans to deceive the trusting. Aiko doesn't believe in Kitsune, but she takes no risks. Not when Kenta says he saw someone standing in the fields last night. Return to the house, where Hana stirs, mumbling in her sleep. Aiko strokes her hair, whispering, "Sleep. It's nothing." But you know she's listening to the owl, the wind, and imagined footsteps outside. Kenta, though mischievous, sits still, clutching a piece of bamboo like a weapon. "I'm not scared," he says, but you see him glance at the window. Have you ever feigned bravery to hide fear? Aiko does, and you see her check the hearth, ensuring the fire doesn't die. "Fire keeps us safe," she says, her voice soft. Can you see it? She's not just keeping the fire. She's keeping her family, her faith, in a world full of shadows. Feel the night's air. The wind grows stronger, and a branch snaps somewhere in the forest, startling Kenta. Aiko doesn't turn. She keeps weaving, but you see her hand tighten on the thread. "Just the wind," she says. But you know she's thinking Yuki's light, Sumi's cat, wilted rice, silent chickens. The pieces are falling into place, and though Aiko tries to dismiss it, the fear of Kitsune is seeping into her, like smoke through a crack. Have you ever felt an intangible fear grow? Aiko is facing it, and you're here, by the hearth, with her. Do you want to continue? Because the rumors are spreading, and Aiko, with all her grit, is about to step into the darkness of fear. Still with me? Good, because you're here, in her small house, with her, waiting for the nameless. Under the hazy moonlight, you kneel beside Aiko in her yard, the damp earth's scent mingling with incense smoke from the nearby village shrine. The wind howls through the deep forest, carrying a chill that feels like a reminder. Darkness isn't just night, but a haven for unseen fears. Aiko holds Hana's hand, the girl clutching her straw doll, her wide eyes fixed on the forest, while Kenta walks close, trying to seem brave but gripping his bamboo shard tightly. Hiroshi, a small axe at his hip, follows behind, his gaze scanning the dirt path to the shrine. Can you hear the distant drum, slow and steady, like the village's heartbeat? Tonight, Aiko leads her family to an exorcism ritual at the shrine, hoping to banish the fear of Kitsune, fox spirits, spreading like smoke through Forest's Edge village. Do you have the nerve to join her in this ritual? The path to the shrine winds through tall pines, their shadows stretching across the ground like long, gnarled fingers. Aiko walks ahead, her tunic fluttering, holding a bundle of incense, its smoke curling like mist. "The shrine will keep us safe," she says, her voice gentle but firm, as if convincing both you and Hana. Do you see her eyes? They don't tremble, but you know she's thinking of the rumors, Yuki's flickering light, Sumi's missing cat, wilted rice, silent chickens. She doesn't believe in Kitsune, But she believes in the ritual's power, not for gods, but for uniting the village. Have you ever joined a ritual just to feel less alone? Aiko is doing that, and you're walking with her. Draw near the shrine, where torchlight flickers on its weathered wooden roof. Villagers gather, faces smudged with sweat, eyes glinting with half fear, half hope. Sumi kneels near the altar, whispering prayers, clutching a talisman. Taro, the storyteller, stands by the priest, his deep voice recounting a kitsune banished with fire and salt. Akong, the youth, grips a stick, as if ready to fend off any fox that dares linger. Can you hear the drum? Steady, resonant, as if rousing both spirits and courage. The priest, a gaunt man named Miro, raises glowing incense, chanting sutras in a rising and falling cadence, as if speaking to the forest itself. Can you feel the air? It's heavy, not just with smoke, but with the village's shared dread. Kneel beside Aiko. Feel the cold earth under your knees. She plants 3 incense sticks in a clay bowl before the altar, smoke swirling, stinging your eyes. Gods, protect our village, she whispers. But you know she's not praying for herself. She's praying for Hana, Kenta, Hiroshi, and the trembling villagers around her. Do you see Hana? She clings to her mother's skirt, her straw doll falling to the ground. But she doesn't cry. Her eyes are locked on the priest, as if he could banish the darkness. Kenta, though mischievous, is silent, still clutching his bamboo. But you see him glance at the forest, as if fearing Yuki's light will appear. Have you ever prayed when you weren't sure you believed? Aiko does, and you see her hold her children's hands tighter, anchoring them to reality. Listen to the ritual. Miro scatters salt around the altar, chants, and rings a bronze bell, its sharp clang cutting through the wind. Kitsune, stay out, he shouts, and the villagers echo, their voices shaky but growing stronger. Do you see Sumi? She sprinkles salt around herself as if it's armor. Taro murmurs, Fire will drive them away. Aiko says nothing, but you know she's thinking, fire, salt, or sutras don't matter. Unity does. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune feared bronze bells, as their sound woke Inari, the god guarding crops. Aiko isn't convinced, but she bows when the bell rings, as her mother taught. Stay here, amid incense smoke and torchlight. Do you see Aiko's eyes? Not those of a superstitious woman, but a mother guarding her home. She stands, pulling Hana and Kenta, and says to Hiroshi, Let's go. Our fire must burn. Can you hear the resolve in her voice? The ritual may ward off Kitsune, but Aiko knows only she, Hiroshi, and their family can truly keep their home safe. Have you ever found strength within yourself when everything felt uncertain? Aiko does, and you're here in the ritual with her. Do you want to keep going? Because the ritual is just the start, and Aiko, with her steadfast heart, will lead you through the unseen fear. Still with me? Good, because you're here, under the torchlight, with her, waiting for what the forest will bring. The moonlight fades, leaving Forest's Edge village shrouded in thick darkness. the towering pines blocking even the stars. You stand beside Aiko on her porch, her breath forming faint wisps in the late-night chill. The owl's hoot grows sharper, like a warning from the deep forest, and the wind rattles the thatched roof, as if telling a tale no one dares hear. Aiko grips the paper talisman hung on the door, her eyes scanning the dark, where the hearth's faint glow spills weak streaks of light. Hana sleeps by the fire, straw doll in hand, but Kenta stays awake, huddled, clutching a bamboo shard like a weapon. Hiroshi, axe nearby, checks the door for the third time. Can you feel the heavy air, as if the darkness is pressing the village tight? Tonight, the first signs of Kitsune, or what the villagers believe is Kitsune, emerge, stirring fear. Do you have the courage to face this unease with Aiko? Listen to the village. The insect's hum has stopped, and an unnatural silence blankets the air, broken only by an odd sound, like soft footsteps on dry leaves just at the forest's edge. Aiko pauses, ear tilting toward the noise. "Did you hear that?" she whispers, not to you, but to Hiroshi. He nods, hand tightening on the axe handle, but says nothing. Do you see Aiko's eyes? Not panicked, but razor sharp, like a mother ready to shield her home from any threat. Kenta, trying to be brave, presses closer to her, whispering, "Is it a fox?" Aiko strokes his hair. "Just the wind." But you know she doesn't believe her own words. Have you ever tried to convince yourself all is well, despite a gut feeling otherwise? Aiko is doing that, and you're here, feeling fear creep in alongside her. Step outside with Aiko, just a few paces. She holds a bamboo stick, checking the chicken coop, where the hens huddle, heads tucked, silent as stone. "No eggs again," she mutters, her voice low. "Can you see it? Last night, a chicken vanished, leaving no trace, no feathers, no blood. Sumi, at the market this morning, whispered that Kitsune took it, and the rumor spread like wildfire." Aiko sprinkles salt around the coop, her hand trembling slightly, not from fear, but from counting what's left. 3 chickens, 2 rice sacks, and her family's fragile faith. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune left tiny paw prints that vanished by dawn. Aiko sees no prints, but she saw a flicker, like Yuki described, in the forest last night. Have you ever seen something that made you doubt yourself? Aiko is doubting, and you're here by the coop with her. Return inside, where the hearth still burns. Hiroshi sits nearby, sharpening a blade, the sound steady but tense, like the house's heartbeat. "Just an animal," he says. But you see him glance at the door, as if animals aren't his only worry. Hana stirs, mumbling in her sleep, and Aiko quickly strokes her hair, whispering, "Sleep. It's nothing." But then, you hear it. Another sound. Not footsteps, but a faint laugh, echoing from the forest. Kenta jumps, his bamboo clattering to the floor. "Mama!" he cries. And Aiko, swift as lightning, pulls him close. "Hush," she says, her voice sharp but gentle. Have you ever stayed calm when your heart wanted to scream? Aiko does, and you see her check the talisman as if it's the only shield between her family and the dark. Feel the air. The wind grows fiercer, and a branch snaps somewhere, making Hiroshi leap up. "I'll check," he says, but Aiko grabs his arm. "Don't!" Can you hear the strain in her voice? She doesn't fear Kitsune. She fears what fear can do to the village. This morning, Taro told the market of a farmer who saw a strange woman in the fields, long-haired, eyes glowing, vanishing when called. Sumi whispered that Yuki, the dreamy girl, is possessed for staring into the forest. Aiko doesn't believe, but you know what she's thinking. If not Kitsune, then what? Have you ever faced a question you didn't want answered? Aiko is facing it, and you're here, by the hearth, with her. Look deeper into this moment. The villagers, though not here, are awake too. Can you imagine Sumi checking talismans, Taro muttering sutras, Yuki perhaps gazing at the forest, eyes bright with curiosity? Aiko doesn't join the ghost stories. She pulls Kenta and Hana closer, checks the fire, and says, "Sleep. Tomorrow we go to the fields." But you know she won't sleep. She's listening to the laugh, the owl, her own heart. Do you want to stay with her? Because the strange signs are mounting, and Aiko, with all her grit, is about to confront the unseen fear. Still with me? Good, because you're here, in her small house, with her, waiting for what the forest will bring. The night engulfs Forest's Edge village, so thick that the moonlight is reduced to faint slivers slipping through the leaves. You huddle beside Aiko in her small house, where the hearth glows red but can't dispel the chill from strange sounds echoing from the forest. The owl's hoot is now sharp as a blade, mingling with rustling leaves, as if someone, or something, is moving out there. Aiko sits by the fire, hands clasped tightly, eyes fixed on the door where the paper talisman sways gently. Hana sleeps, her straw doll slipping from her grasp, but Kenta stays awake, curled up, clutching a bamboo shard like a weapon. Hiroshi stands by the door, axe in hand, ear tilted toward the darkness. Can you feel the tension in the air, like a taut string about to snap? Tonight, Aiko faces eerie sounds and the fear keeping her family sleepless. Do you have the courage to stay awake with her through this night? The hearth fire crackles, but its light isn't enough to banish the darkness clinging to the house. Can you see how Aiko checks the door? Her fingers tracing the wood, as if ensuring it won't open on its own. "Just the wind," she mutters, but her voice is low, like she's convincing herself. Kenta, trying to be strong, presses closer to her, whispering, "I heard laughter." Aiko strokes his hair, but you see her hand freeze. Do you remember the faint laugh last night, echoing from the forest, which she dismissed as imagination? Tonight, it's back, indistinct, like a child's giggle or a vague melody, making Hiroshi grip his axe tighter. Have you ever heard a sound you weren't sure was real or just in your head? Aiko is hearing it, and you see her glance at the window, where tree shadows sway like specters. Listen with Aiko. The laughter fades, but a new sound emerges, like soft tapping, not on the door, but on the thatched roof, as if testing its strength. Aiko stands, grasping her bamboo stick, and signals Hiroshi, "Don't open the door." He nods, but you see him move closer to the hearth, where fire could be a weapon. Hana stirs, mumbling in her sleep, and Aiko quickly kneels beside her, whispering, "Mama's here." But you know what she's thinking. Yuki's flickering light, the missing chicken, wilted rice, and now the tapping on the roof. Kitsune aren't real, she tells herself. But you see her check the paper talisman as if it's her last shield. Have you ever clung to something for safety, unsure if it works? Aiko does, and you're here, by the hearth, with her. Imagine sitting beside Kenta, feeling his quick breaths. "Is someone on the roof, Mama?" he asks, voice trembling. Aiko doesn't answer immediately. She listens, ear tilted upward. The tapping stops, but another sound follows, like faint claws scratching, then silence. "Just rats," she says, but you know she doesn't believe it. Hiroshi, unable to stand it, steps into the yard, axe in hand, and you see Aiko grip Kenta's hand tighter. "Don't go," she whispers, but he's already outside. Can you hear Hiroshi's footsteps? Heavy, cautious, like a hunter who might be prey. Have you ever waited in silence, dreading what comes next? Aiko is waiting, and you're here, with her, heart pounding. Stay inside, where the hearth is the only light. Hiroshi returns, damp with night dew, shaking his head. Nothing. But you see him hang another talisman on the door, as if nothing is still terrifying. Aiko says nothing, but she sprinkles salt around the hearth, murmuring a prayer her mother taught. Do you see Kenta? He doesn't sleep, eyes locked on the door, as if expecting something to enter. Hana, though asleep, stirs, muttering, "Fox." Aiko quickly hugs her, singing a lullaby, her voice faintly trembling. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune could enter through dreams, and lullabies protected children. Aiko sings, not because she believes, but because she won't risk it. Have you ever done something out of love, even if it seemed irrational? Aiko does, and it keeps her vigilant through the night. Feel this moment. The hearth flickers and the wind softens, but the air remains heavy, as if the darkness is waiting. Aiko looks at you, as if sensing you're here. "Fear is the real enemy," she says, her voice soft but firm. "Do you understand?" She doesn't fear Kitsune. She fears what fear can do to her family, her village. Do you want to stay with her? Because these strange sounds are just the beginning, and Aiko, with all her grit, will lead you through this sleepless night. Still with me? Good, because you're here, by the hearth, with her, waiting for dawn. Dawn breaks, casting feeble rays through the sparse trees, illuminating Forest's Edge village, where the air still carries the heavy scent of damp earth and hearth smoke. You sit beside Aiko in her small house, eyes stinging from a sleepless night, ears still ringing with the tapping on the roof and faint laughter from the forest. The hearth burns red, but it can't dispel the chill of the Kitsune fear, fox spirits, gripping the village. Aiko kneels by the fire, warming a pot of rice porridge, her hands trembling slightly, not from fatigue, but from counting what remains. 3 chickens, 2 rice sacks, and her family's fragile faith. Hana sleeps, her straw doll fallen beside her, while Kenta, eyes red from lack of sleep, clutches his bamboo shard, unusually silent. Hiroshi, axe nearby, stares at the door as if the darkness still lurks. Can you feel the stifling silence, as if the village is holding its breath? Today, you'll join Aiko in tracing the source of the Kitsune rumors, distinguishing between curse and superstition. Are you alert enough to step into this mystery? Aiko stands, wiping her hands on her tunic, and pours porridge for Hana first, though the girl hasn't woken. "Eat, Kenta," she says, her voice gentle but firm, handing him a bowl. Can you see how she cares for her children, as if porridge is a shield against fear? Kenta eats slowly, eyes averted, and you know he's thinking of last night's tapping. Hiroshi, skipping food, sharpens his blade, the sound steady but tense, like the house's heartbeat. "Just an animal," he says again, but you see him check the paper talisman, as if animals aren't his only concern. Aiko doesn't argue. She looks at the door, where daylight softens the darkness, but not the rumors. Have you ever sought reason for the unexplainable? Aiko is doing that, and you're here, by the hearth, with her. Walk with Aiko to the village market, where villagers gather, faces weary from sleeplessness. Sumi, setting out tofu, whispers to a buyer that her second cat vanished. "Kitsune," she says, eyes red with worry. Taro, under a tree, recounts a hunter tricked by a kitsune, led into the forest, never to return. Yuki, the dreamy girl, stands apart, eyes fixed on the forest, as if entranced. Aiko listens, but doesn't join in. She buys a bundle of greens, checks rice prices, and pulls Kenta home. "Don't heed nonsense," she says. But you see her glance at the forest, where daylight doesn't reach. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune left tiny paw prints, visible only by moonlight. Aiko saw no prints, but she recalls the laughter, the tapping, Yuki's flickering light. Have you ever suspected something was real, despite reason saying no? Aiko is doubting, and you're here, on the village path, with her. Return to the house, where Aiko kneels by her loom, weaving slower than usual. She tells you, as if you're a close friend, of her mother, who taught her that fear is a double-edged blade. It protects, but also destroys. "Mother said Kitsune are how villagers explain what they don't understand," she says, her voice low. Can you hear the doubt in her words? She remembers her mother's tale of a winter when Kitsune rumors led villagers to burn an innocent woman's house, believing her possessed. "Fear kills, not foxes," her mother said, and Aiko carries those words. Have you ever sought answers in memory? Aiko does, and you see her tend the hearth, keeping the fire alive, as if to banish both fear and superstition. Imagine sitting beside Hiroshi, feeling the hearth's warmth. He stops sharpening his blade, looking at Aiko. Maybe we should ask Miro. The priest who led the exorcism ritual is said to know how to handle Kitsune. Aiko nods, but you know she doesn't believe Miro holds answers. She trusts herself, her weaving hands, the porridge feeding her children, the home she keeps safe. Can you see Hana? She wakes asking, "Will Kitsune eat me, Mama?" Aiko smiles, stroking her hair. "Only if you don't listen to Mama." Have you ever used a smile to hide worry? Aiko does, and you see her check talismans, sprinkle salt, as if superstition is the only way to calm Hana. Feel this moment. Daylight eases fear, but rumors persist. Can you hear whispers from the next house? Villagers speak of Yuki, saying she's possessed for staring into the forest. Aiko doesn't believe, but she knows fear could turn Yuki into an outcast. She looks at you, her eyes sharp yet gentle. "The truth is in the forest," she says, her voice soft. "Do you understand?" She doesn't believe in Kitsune, but she wants answers, not for herself, but for the village. Do you want to go with her? Because the strange signs are mounting, and Aiko, with her steadfast heart, will lead you through superstition to find truth. Still with me? Good, because you're here, by the loom, with her, awaiting the new day. Dusk falls, draping Forest's Edge village in a golden-orange glow, but the long shadows of towering pines seem to stretch the fear clinging to the villagers. You kneel beside Aiko in her yard, her hands smudged with dirt from checking the chicken coop, where only 2 hens remain, unnaturally silent. The wind howls through the forest, carrying a chill, and last night's owl hoots still echo in your mind, mingling with the tapping on the roof and faint laughter Aiko tries to dismiss. She stands tall, her tunic fluttering, eyes scanning the wilted rice fields, where strange signs, flickering lights, missing chickens, dying crops, are piling up. Hana clings to her mother's skirt, straw doll in hand, while Kenta, gripping his bamboo shard, stares at the forest with eyes half fearful, half curious. Hiroshi, axe at his hip, checks the house's stilts, as if wood could fend off the intangible. Can you feel the heavy air, as if the village is sinking into a waking nightmare? Tonight, the villagers spiral into panic over Kitsune fears, and Aiko strives to keep her family calm. Do you have the strength to stand firm with her? Step out to the village market, no longer bustling like yesterday. Do you see Sumi? She stands behind her tofu stall, hands trembling as she wraps a parcel, eyes red from sleeplessness. "Another cat gone?" she whispers to a buyer, voice quivering. Taro, under a tree, tells of a strange woman seen in the fields, vanishing when called. "Kitsune!" he declares, and the crowd murmurs, eyes darting to the forest. Yuki, the dreamy girl, stands apart, hair loose, gaze locked on the woods, as if mesmerized. Aiko, pulling Hana through the market, hears it all, but says nothing. "Don't mind them," she tells her daughter, but you see her hands tighten on the bamboo basket, as if suppressing something. Have you ever walked through a crowd and felt fear spread like a plague? Aiko feels it, and you're here, in the market, with her. Return to the house, where the hearth burns red, but its light can't banish the darkness creeping into minds. Aiko kneels by the fire, warming porridge, but you see her glance at the door, where the sunset makes the forest look like a black curtain. Kenta, sitting close, whispers, "Yuki's possessed, isn't she, Mama?" Aiko frowns, but doesn't scold. "Don't talk nonsense," she says, her voice gentle but sharp. "Can you see it?" She's not angry at him. She's angry at how fear is dividing the village. Hiroshi, pausing his blade sharpening, looks at his wife. "The villagers want to burn the forest." Aiko shakes her head. "Burn the forest? You burn the village." Can you hear the resolve in her voice? She doesn't believe in Kitsune, but she fears the villagers, in their panic, will do something irreversible. Have you ever seen a crowd lose control to fear? Aiko sees it, and you're here, by the hearth, with her. Imagine helping Aiko sprinkle salt around the house, a ritual she does because her mother taught her, though she doubts it. "Salt won't chase anything," she mutters, but you see her scatter it carefully around Hana's bed. The girl, waking, asks, "Mama, are Kitsune bad?" Aiko smiles, stroking her hair. "Only if you don't sleep." Have you ever used words to mask worry? Aiko does, and you see her check the paper talisman, as if it's her last shield. Kenta, though tired, still clutches his bamboo, eyes gleaming as he says, "I saw a light in the forest today." Aiko freezes, looking at him. "Don't go into the forest." Can you feel the fear in her voice? She doesn't fear Kitsune. She fears Kenta's curiosity will lead him into the woods like Yuki. Have you ever tried to keep someone safe, even when they didn't see the danger? Aiko does, and you're here, by the door, with her. Listen to the village at night. Drums from the shrine sound uneven, as if the priest Miro is trying to banish something. Can you imagine Sumi burning incense all night? Taro muttering sutras. Yuki perhaps standing in the fields, staring at the forest? Aiko doesn't join the panic. She pulls Kenta and Hana close, singing a lullaby, her voice low as if to lull fear itself to sleep. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune could enter through words, and silence was protection. Aiko isn't silent. She sings, weaves, and keeps her family alert. Have you ever used action to fight fear? Aiko does, and it keeps her strong. Stay here, by the hearth. Do you see Aiko's eyes? Not of surrender, but of someone planning. "Tomorrow, I'll find Miro," she says, her voice soft. Do you understand? She doesn't believe the priest has answers, but she wants truth, to protect the village from itself. Do you want to go with her? Because the panic is spreading, and Aiko, with her steadfast heart, will lead you through the shadow of fear. Still with me? Good, because you're here, by the hearth, with her awaiting dawn. The early morning sun filters through a thin mist, casting a silvery glow over Forest's Edge village, but the nearby forest remains cloaked in shadow, as if guarding secrets no one dares touch. You stand beside Aiko in her yard, her hand gripping a bamboo stick, eyes fixed on the woods where rumors of Kitsune, fox spirits, have become the village's obsession. Last night's shrine drums still echo in your mind, blending with the roof's tapping, faint laughter, and the flickering light Kenta swears he saw. Aiko ties her hair with a cloth, her tunic smudged from checking the coop, where only 2 chickens huddle silently. Hana clings to her mother's skirt, straw doll in hand, while Kenta, clutching his bamboo shard, looks at her with eyes both worried and trusting. Hiroshi, axe at his hip, stands by the door, nodding silently when Aiko says, "I must find Miro." Can you hear the tension in her voice, like a taut string about to snap? Today, you'll join Aiko into the forest to seek the priest, hoping to unravel the curse threatening the village. Do you have the courage to step into the darkness with her? Aiko doesn't wait for full daylight. She packs rice balls, tying them to her belt, and checks the paper talisman tucked in her sleeve. "Stay home, watch Hana," she tells Hiroshi, her voice sharp but soft. He nods, but you see his hand tighten on the axe handle as if longing to follow. Kenta, though forbidden, pleads, "Let me come, Mama." Aiko shakes her head, ruffling his hair. "You're the man at home." Do you see her eyes? Not fearful, but those of a mother who knows she must protect her family, even if it means entering the forest. Have you ever done something that made your heart tremble, yet did it for others? Aiko is doing that, and you're here, grasping a bamboo stick, ready to go with her. Follow Aiko along the narrow path into the forest. The ground is damp, roots jutting like obstacles, and the smell of rotting leaves mixes with pine resin. Can you hear the birds? Fewer than usual, as if the forest holds its breath. Aiko walks ahead, her stick tapping the earth, eyes scanning bushes for signs, tiny paw prints, a flicker of light, anything like Yuki saw. "Miro lives deep in the woods," she says, her voice low. Want to know a curious detail? Villagers believe Miro, a solitary priest, can speak to Inari and banish Kitsune. Aiko doesn't think he has magic, but she believes he knows something, perhaps the truth behind the flickering light. Have you ever sought answers, unsure if they'd bring peace? Aiko is doing that, and you're here, in the forest, with her. Feel the air. Faint light pierces the canopy, creating flickering patches of shadow and glow as if the forest plays hide and seek. Can you see how Aiko moves? Slow, cautious, but unflinching. A sound, like a snapping twig, rings out, and she stops, hand tightening on her stick. "Just a squirrel," she mutters, but you see her check the talisman in her sleeve. Can you hear your heartbeat? It's faster, mingling with rustling leaves and whistling wind. Aiko presses on, leading you across a small stream, its water gurgling but icy as you wade through. Have you ever felt you were entering a place you shouldn't? Aiko feels it, but she doesn't turn back. Not when Kenta, Hana, and the village await her. Picture yourself deep in the forest, where trees grow dense and light nearly vanishes. Aiko pauses before a small hut, its leaf-thatched roof leaking incense smoke. Miro, gaunt, silver-haired, sits by a wooden altar, eyes half closed, fingers on prayer beads. "Aiko," he says, not opening his eyes, as if he knew she'd come. "Can you feel the hut's air? Heavy with incense and decaying wood, like time has stopped." Aiko kneels, placing rice balls before the altar, and says, "Teacher, the village is afraid." Can you hear the directness in her voice? She doesn't beg. She demands answers. Miro opens his eyes, looks at her, then the forest. "The Kitsune isn't here. It's in people's hearts." Have you ever heard a phrase that made you question everything? Aiko hears it, and you see her hands clench, as if grappling to understand. Stay in the hut, the incense smoke stinging your eyes. Miro speaks slowly, telling of a winter when villagers blamed a woman for failed crops, calling her a kitsune. "They burned her house," he says, eyes clouding. Aiko stills, recalling her mother's words. "Fear kills, not foxes." Can you see it? She doesn't believe in Kitsune, but she fears the villagers will turn on Yuki, the girl who stares at the forest. Have you ever realized fear can turn good people cruel? Aiko does, and you're here, in the priest's hut, with her. Step outside, following Aiko. She looks at you, her eyes sharp yet gentle. "The truth isn't in the forest," she says, her voice soft. "Do you understand?" She knows the answer lies in the village, in fear itself, and she'll face it. Do you want to go with her? Because the panic is growing, and Aiko, with her steadfast heart, will lead you through superstition's shadow to truth. Still with me? Good, because you're here, in the forest, with her, carrying the light of truth. The morning mist clears, revealing the towering pines encircling Forest's Edge village, where faint sunlight struggles through dense shadows. You walk beside Aiko on the narrow path back to the village, your feet heavy with mud, your mind echoing with Miro's words. The Kitsune isn't here. It's in people's hearts. The tapping on the roof, the faint laughter, and the flickering light Kenta saw now take on a new hue. Not magic, but fear tearing the villagers apart. Aiko grips her bamboo stick, her eyes sharp, not with worry, but with a plan to protect the village from itself. Hana and Kenta wait at home, watched by Hiroshi. But the village is sinking into panic, with rumors of Kitsune, fox spirits, growing fiercer. Can you smell the pine resin and damp earth? It's not just the forest's scent. It's the smell of truth waiting to be uncovered. Today, you'll join Aiko in digging into the secret behind the strange events, seeking answers amid superstition and reality. Are you sharp enough to see through the darkness with her? Return to the village, where the air is heavier than the mist. Do you see Sumi? She stands at her tofu stall, not selling, eyes red, whispering to Taro that a farmer saw a strange woman in the fields last night, long-haired, eyes glowing. "Kitsune," Taro declares, voice hoarse, and the crowd murmurs, glancing toward Yuki's house, the dreamy girl who stares at the forest. Aiko, pulling her bamboo basket through the market, hears it all, but doesn't pause. "Don't mind them," she tells Kenta, trailing behind. But you see her hands tighten on the basket, as if holding back anger. Have you ever passed through a crowd and felt them lost? Aiko feels it. And you're here, in the market, with her, watching fear turn into a fever. Sit by the hearth in Aiko's house, where she warms rice porridge, its faint aroma spreading. Hana, waking, hugs her straw doll, asking, "Mama, what did the priest say?" Aiko smiles, feeding her. "He said we're stronger than foxes." Can you see her smile? It doesn't reach her eyes, for she knows Miro's words, that Kitsune is fear in people's hearts, won't easily calm a panicked village. Kenta, nearby, recounts, "I saw the light again, Mama, last night." Hiroshi, sharpening his blade more slowly, looks at his wife. "Maybe it's a person." Aiko nods, but you know she's thinking, the light, missing chickens, wilted rice aren't random. Have you ever felt puzzle pieces starting to fit? Aiko does, and you're here, by the hearth, with her, piecing them together. Picture standing with Aiko in the fields, where rice wilts unnaturally. She kneels, touching the soil, muttering, "Not pests, not drought." Can you see it? The ground is damp, yet rice dies in patches, as if drained of life. Aiko looks to the forest, recalling Miro's words, and then you see it. A small red cloth scrap, vivid, caught on a bush near the field. "Yuki's," she whispers, recognizing it from the girl's tunic. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune left traces, cloth, fur, or light, as taunts. Aiko doesn't believe in Kitsune, but this cloth is a clue. She picks it up, tucks it into her sleeve, and says, "I must find Yuki." Have you ever followed a trail unsure where it leads? Aiko is doing that, and you're here, in the rice field, with her. Follow Aiko to Yuki's house, a small hut at the village's edge. Yuki sits in the yard, hair loose, eyes locked on the forest, as if waiting for someone. "Yuki," Aiko calls, her voice gentle but firm. The girl startles, looking up. "Aiko, I saw the light. It calls me." Can you see Yuki's eyes? Not possessed, but entranced. Aiko kneels beside her, revealing the cloth. "This is yours, isn't it?" Yuki nods, but offers no explanation. Aiko doesn't press. She knows pushing Yuki now will drive her further away. Have you ever tried to understand someone lost? Aiko does, and you see her hold Yuki's hand, as if pulling her back to reality. Feel this moment. The wind softens, but the village hums with rumors. Can you hear whispers from nearby houses? Villagers want to burn the forest, or worse, banish Yuki, calling her the fox. Aiko looks at you, her eyes no longer just a mother's, but a village guardian's. The truth isn't in the light, she says, her voice low. Do you understand? She knows the strange events, wilted rice, missing chickens, flickering lights, have a cause, and she'll find it. Not for superstition, but for the village. Do you want to go with her? Because the secret is unraveling, and Aiko, with her steadfast heart, will lead you through fear's shadow to truth. Still with me? Good, because you're here, at Yuki's house, with her, seeking reality. Under the fiery sunset, you stand beside Aiko on the dirt path to the wilted rice fields of Forest's Edge village, where shadows from the deep forest seem to slink forward, swallowing the light. The red cloth scrap from Yuki, found near the field, remains in Aiko's sleeve, a small but weighty clue, raising the question, Kitsune or merely the villager's fear? The wind carries a chill sharp as a blade, and distant owl hoots echo like reminders of sleepless nights, roof tappings, and the flickering light Kenta swears he saw. Aiko, her tunic mud-stained, grips her bamboo stick, eyes sharp but weary, not from fear, but from the burden of keeping the village from panic. Hana and Kenta are safe at home with Hiroshi by the hearth, but the village seethes with rumors about Yuki, the girl branded the fox. Can you feel the suffocating weight of fear, like a lead blanket over the village? Today, you'll join Aiko in confronting the Kitsune, whether real or a shadow in the mind. Do you have the courage to step into this pivotal moment? Aiko doesn't head home. She leads you to the field's edge, where wilted rice forms eerie black patches, as if drained of life. Not pests, not drought, she mutters, kneeling, fingers probing the soil. Can you see it? She's not searching for Kitsune tracks. She's looking for human ones. Yuki's cloth was a start, but Aiko knows the truth lies beyond superstition. Yuki isn't possessed, she says, her voice low, glancing toward the forest. Do you recall Miro's words? The Kitsune is in people's hearts. Aiko clutches the cloth, as if it's a key to the mystery. Have you ever held a clue that felt heavier than its substance? Aiko feels it. And you're here, in the rice field, with her, seeking truth. Picture walking with Aiko toward the forest, where Yuki and Kenta saw flickering lights. The ground is damp, the scent of pine resin mixing with rotting leaves, as if the forest breathes. Aiko pauses, ear cocked at a sound, not laughter or tapping, but rustling leaves like someone moving. Who's there? She calls, her voice sharp but steady. No answer, but you see it. A figure, fleeting between trees, long hair, red tunic. Yuki or Kitsune? Aiko tightens her grip on the stick, stepping forward, and your heart races. Have you ever faced something you weren't sure was real? Aiko is doing that, and you're here, in the forest, with her, facing the shadow. Stay in this moment. The figure vanishes, but Aiko doesn't chase. She kneels, inspecting the ground, finding a small human footprint, not a fox's, beside a charred coal fragment. "Fire," she murmurs, picking it up, eyes alight. "Can you see it?" The flickering light wasn't magic. Someone lit a fire, perhaps to scare, perhaps by accident. Aiko looks toward the village, thinking of Yuki, of villagers ready to burn the forest or banish the girl. "Not Kitsune," she says, her voice firm. But you know she's wondering, if not Kitsune, who? Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Kitsune created illusions, but Aiko believes the deadliest illusion is human fear. Have you ever realized truth is simpler than what you feared? Aiko does, and you're here, by the coal, with her. Return to the village, where villagers gather near the shrine, voices rising, demanding action. "Can you hear Taro?" He shouts, "Burn the forest! Drive out the fox!" Sumi, eyes red, nods, clutching her talisman. Yuki, standing apart, hair loose, gazes at the crowd with lost eyes. Aiko steps forward, unafraid of the mob, and says, "There's no fox, only us." Her voice rings, but you see her hands tremble, not from fear, but because she knows her words may go unheard. Have you ever tried to speak truth when no one wanted to listen? Aiko does, and you see her stand before Yuki, a shield between the girl and the village's rage. Feel the air. Shrine drums sound uneven, like a village's erratic heartbeat. Aiko looks at you, her eyes not of a victor, but a protector. "Fear is the blade," she says, her voice soft. "Do you understand?" She's faced the Kitsune, not a fox in the forest, but the blade in people's hearts. Do you want to stay with her? Because the panic hasn't faded, and Aiko, with her steadfast heart, will lead you through superstition's shadow to save the village. Still with me? Good, because you're here, amid the crowd, with her, holding truth. The gentle dawn blankets forest's edge village, gilding thatched roofs and glinting off the small stream winding through the wilted rice fields. You stand beside Aiko at her door, her hands still muddy from last night when she found the charred coal and human footprint in the forest. Clues proving there's no Kitsune, only fear turning villagers against each other. The morning breeze is soft, no longer carrying owl hoots or eerie tappings, but the specter of fox spirits lingers in Sumi's anxious eyes, Taro's angry shouts, and Yuki's lonely silence. Aiko, in simple, dirt-smudged clothes, hair tied high, checks the hearth, where the crackling fire reminds you she kept her family safe through the nightmare. Hana hugs her straw doll, playing by the fire, while Kenta, bamboo shard in hand, looks at his mother with newfound trust. Hiroshi, axe nearby, nods when Aiko says, "Today, the village will find peace." Can you feel the fragile stillness, like a village reviving? Today, you'll join Aiko in witnessing the dawn after the nightmare, where she not only saves the village, but changes it forever. Are you ready to step into the light with her? Enter Aiko's house, where the faint aroma of rice porridge wafts, warm but bland, a reminder of hard days. Aiko feeds Hana, smiling as the girl chatters about a dream of a sparkling fish. Fish are better than foxes, she teases. But you see her eyes brighter, as if the coal and footprint lifted a weight from her shoulders. Kenta, eating slowly, asks, "Mama, there's no real Kitsune, right?" Aiko looks at him, pausing, then says, "Only what we let become real." Can you hear the wisdom in her words? She doesn't deny Kenta's fear. She teaches him to face it. Hiroshi, sitting nearby, stops sharpening his blade, nodding. Your mother's right. Have you ever seen someone grow up before your eyes? Kenta is growing, and you're here, by the hearth, witnessing it. Step out to the village market, where villagers gather, but the panicked whispers have eased. Do you see Sumi? She sets out tofu, her voice lighter, telling of a cat returning this morning, as if merely lost. Taro, though still spinning ghost tales, skips Kitsune, speaking of Inari guarding crops. Aiko, carrying her bamboo basket, passes through, pausing when she sees Yuki alone, hair loose, eyes downcast. Yuki, she calls, kneeling beside the girl, offering the red cloth. You're not a fox. Yuki looks up, eyes teary, and nods. Can you see Aiko's gaze? Not judging, but gentle, pulling Yuki back to the village. Have you ever helped someone reclaim their place? Aiko does, and you're here, in the market, with her, mending a community. Feel the air. Birds sing again, and the shrine's incense smells light, no longer heavy like the exorcism night. Aiko doesn't pause to bask in pride. She returns home, checking the coop, 2 chickens laying again, as if fear has faded. Surviving is work, she tells Kenta, teaching him to fix the coop's stilts. Can you hear Hana's laughter? She runs in the yard, straw doll in hand, as if untouched by tappings or lights. Hiroshi, tying fresh bamboo, looks at his wife with a rare smile. She's stronger than gods. Have you ever seen someone change their world just by being themselves? Aiko does, and you're here, by the coop, with her, seeing the village revive. Dive deeper into this moment. Villagers, though silent, feel the shift. Sumi shares tofu with neighbors. Taro talks of next season's rice, and Yuki, quietly, helps Sumi at the market. Aiko seeks no thanks. She tends the hearth, weaves cloth, and hugs Hana when she runs into her arms. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed a village overcoming fear was blessed by Inari with bountiful harvests. Aiko doesn't believe in gods, but she believes in the village, in Yuki, in Kenta. Have you ever believed in something bigger than yourself? Aiko does, and it makes her stronger than fear. Picture sitting with Aiko on her porch, watching dusk fade. She tells you, like a close friend, of her mother, who said, "Fear is a blade, but love is a shield." Aiko wielded that shield, not just for her family, but for the village. Can you see it? She no longer checks talismans nightly, but still sprinkles salt, as her mother taught. Have you ever kept a habit because it reminds you of someone? Aiko does, And you're here, under the moonlight, with her, feeling fragile peace. Stay here, on the porch. Aiko looks at you, her eyes bright, not with victory, but with knowing the village survived the nightmare. Living is not fearing, she says, her voice soft. Do you understand? She faced the Kitsune, not a fox, but the blade in people's hearts, and won. Do you want to carry this lesson? Because the story isn't over, and Aiko, with her steadfast heart, will lead you into a new dawn. Still with me? Good, because you're here, on her porch, with her, awaiting tomorrow. As dawn's gentle light sparkles on dewdrops across the rice fields of Forest's Edge Village, you stand beside Aiko in the field, where wilted stalks are beginning to revive, as if the fear of Kitsune, fox spirits, has dissolved with the morning mist. The scent of freshly turned earth mingles with hearth smoke from the thatched house, where Aiko just checked the fire, ensuring it burns for Hana and Kenta eating porridge inside. She ties her hair with a cloth, her tunic mud-stained, but her eyes shine, no longer haunted by roof tappings, faint laughter, or flickering lights the villagers once thought were Kitsune signs. Yuki, once branded the fox, now helps Sumi at the market, and the villagers' laughter rings again, soft but genuine. Can you feel the fragile serenity, like a village awakening from a nightmare? Today, you'll join Aiko in passing on the lesson from fear, not just to her children, but to the community, so they'll never let fear divide them again. Are you ready to learn with her? Step into Aiko's yard, where she teaches Hana to tie straw for the chicken coop. Pull tight, but don't break it, she says, her voice gentle, guiding the girl's hands. Hana, straw doll in hand, giggles as straw falls on her tunic. Can you see Aiko's smile? It's not just a mother's joy, but faith that Hana will grow up unafraid of the forest's shadows. Kenta, now more confident, carries water from the stream, no longer glancing at the woods with worry. Mama, can I go to the field? He asks, and Aiko nods. But don't run off. Can you hear the pride in her voice? She's not just teaching her children to work. She's teaching them to face fear. Have you ever passed on a lesson learned from hardship? Aiko is doing that, and you're here, by the coop, with her. Head to the village market, where the air feels lighter. Do you see Sumi? She sets out tofu, her voice cheerful, telling of a cat returning, as if it never strayed. Taro, under a tree, speaks of Inari blessing crops, skipping Kitsune tales. Aiko, carrying a basket of greens, passes through, pausing to say to Yuki, "You're doing well." Yuki blushes, nodding, and you see Aiko's gaze, not judging, but uplifting, as if saying she's reclaimed her place. Have you ever helped someone regain their confidence? Aiko does, and you're here, in the market, witnessing the village mend. Sit by the hearth, where Aiko tells Kenta and Hana a story, not of Kitsune, but of their grandmother, who led the village through a harsh winter. She said fear is a blade, but we can choose not to wield it, she says, her voice low. Can you see Kenta listening, eyes bright, as if memorizing? Hana, hugging her doll, asks, "Was Grandma scared of foxes?" Aiko laughs. She feared hunger more. Can you hear the wisdom? She teaches her children that the real fear isn't spirits, but what turns people against each other. Hiroshi, nearby, nods. Your mother's right. Have you ever seen a story change how someone views the world? Aiko is changing it, and you're here, by the hearth, with her. Go deeper into the village, where Aiko's lesson spreads. Sumi, now sharing tofu with neighbors, no longer whispers of missing cats. Taro talks of sprouting rice, as if to forget the panicked days. Aiko doesn't shout her triumph. Her actions, standing up for Yuki, finding the coal, debunking Kitsune, reshaped the village. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed a village overcoming trials was blessed by Inari. But Aiko believes the blessing is the people, Yuki, Kenta, Sumi. Have you ever seen a community's strength when it chooses love over fear? Aiko sees it, and you're here, in the field, with her, feeling the shift. Stand with Aiko, gazing at the rice field. She points to new sprouts. It'll green again. Can you see the hope in her voice? She's not just talking about rice, about the village, her children, the future. Have you ever looked at something broken and seen it could revive? Aiko does, and she passes that lesson to Kenta, teaching him to sow seeds, and to Hana, teaching her to trust. Do you want to carry this lesson? Because Aiko, with her steadfast heart, has shown you that fear is a blade, but love is a shield. Still with me? Good, because you're here, by the field, with her, sowing tomorrow's seeds. As the sunset gilds the reviving rice fields of Forest's Edge Village, you sit beside Aiko on a log in her yard, where the scent of dry straw mingles with hearth smoke from the nearby thatched house. The fields, once wilted under the shadow of Kitsune fear, now shimmer with new green sprouts, proof the village has overcome its nightmare. Aiko, tunic mud-stained, holds a bundle of straw, teaching Hana to tie the chicken coop, her eyes no longer strained by roof tappings or the flickering lights Kenta once saw. Hana giggles, straw doll in hand, while Kenta, now bolder, carries water from the stream, no longer glancing warily at the forest. Hiroshi, axe nearby, checks the house stilts, smiling as his wife tells stories to their children. Can you feel the newfound peace, like a village rediscovering its breath? Today, you'll join Aiko in reflecting on her legacy. Not gold or fame, but a lesson of resilience and love that transformed a community. Are you ready to remember this legacy? Stand with Aiko, gazing at the rice fields. She points to the green sprouts. The rice will grow tall, you'll see. She tells Hana, her voice low but warm. Can you see her eyes? They shine, not with pride, but with knowing these sprouts aren't just crops. They're symbols of a village that rose after fear. Sumi, from the market, brings tofu to Aiko, whispering, "Thanks to you, Yuki stayed." Yuki, once called the fox, now laughs at the market, as if never shunned. Taro, under a tree, tells of bountiful harvests, no longer mentioning Kitsune. Have you ever seen one person change a community just by being themselves? Aiko did, and you're here, in the field, witnessing her legacy. Enter the house, where the hearth glows red, Aiko kneeling by her loom, weaving with a slow rhythm, as if retelling her story. Kenta, nearby, asks, "Mama, why did the village fear foxes?" Aiko pauses, looking at him. Because they feared themselves. Can you hear the wisdom in her words? She doesn't speak of the flickering light or the coal she found. She speaks of the fear that nearly tore the village apart, and how she stood up, not to fight Kitsune, but to protect Yuki, Sumi, and even those who turned away. Hana, clutching her doll, listens, and you know these stories will live in her, as Aiko's mothers lived in her. Have you ever realized a lesson can endure through generations? Aiko does, and you're here, by the loom, with her. At the market, Aiko's legacy spreads. Villagers no longer scatter salt nightly or obsess over talismans. Sumi shares tofu, Taro talks of crops, and Yuki, hair tied high, helps village children play. Aiko seeks no praise. She brings greens home, checks the coop, and teaches Kenta to sow seeds. Seeds need good soil, she says. But you know she's not just talking about rice, about trust, about community. Hiroshi, tying bamboo for the coop, looks at his wife. She's the village's fire. Have you ever seen someone ignite a community? Aiko does, and you're here, by the coop, feeling her strength. Picture kneeling with Aiko in the field, sowing new rice. She tells you, like a close friend, of her mother, who said, "Fear is a blade, but love is a shield." Aiko wielded that shield, not just for Kenta and Hana, but for the village, standing for Yuki, debunking Kitsune, guiding the villagers through panic. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed those who saved a village were remembered by Inari, their names living in the earth. Aiko doesn't believe in gods, but her name will endure, through Hana, Yuki, these rice sprouts. Have you ever thought about your legacy? Aiko doesn't think hers is grand, but you know she's wrong. She left a stronger village, a united community. Feel the air. Birds chirp brightly, and the scent of new rice wafts like a promise of coming harvests. Aiko looks at you, her eyes not just a mother's, but a victor's over fear. "The village is family," she says, her voice soft. Do you understand? Her legacy isn't just rice or houses. It's the lesson that love outshines superstition, that community triumphs over darkness. Do you want to carry this lesson? Because Aiko, with her steadfast heart, has shown you an ordinary person can change a world. Still with me? Good, because you're here in the field with her, sowing seeds for the future. As silvery moonlight cloaks Forest's Edge village, you sit beside Aiko on her porch, where the stream's gentle gurgle blends with the hearth's crackling fire from the thatched house. The rice fields, once withered under the specter of Kitsune fear, now shimmer with green sprouts, affirming the village's triumph over its nightmare. Aiko, in simple, mud-stained clothes, holds sleeping Hana, her straw doll fallen aside, her eyes gentle yet profound, as if seeing beyond the days of roof tappings, flickering lights, and rumors that nearly tore the village apart. Kenta, nearby, whittles a bamboo piece, no longer wary of the forest, while Hiroshi, axe at his side, watches his wife with a quiet smile. Can you feel the warm stillness, like a village rediscovering itself? Today, you'll join Aiko in reflecting on the power of faith, the lesson from fear, and the human resilience that shaped her legacy. Are you ready to carry this light into your dreams? Let your mind drift over the village. Firelight from neighboring homes twinkles, like earthly stars igniting hope after sleepless nights. Sumi, now sharing tofu with neighbors, no longer whispers of missing cats. Taro tells of bountiful harvests, forgetting the panicked days of Kitsune tales. Yuki, once branded the fox, laughs brightly at the market, as if never shunned. Aiko, seeking no thanks, sowed new rice, taught Kenta to dig channels, and shielded Yuki with quiet courage. Have you ever seen an ordinary person become a community's flame? Aiko is that flame, and you've walked with her every step, from the exorcism ritual, through the deep forest, to the reviving rice fields. By the hearth, Aiko speaks to you, like a dear friend, of the village's journey. Fear is a blade, she says, her voice low, echoing her mother. But faith is a shield. Do you remember when she found the coal and human footprint, debunking Kitsune, not to prove herself right, but to save the village from self-destruction? You saw her stand before the mob, defend Yuki, and guide the villagers through panic by sowing seeds, weaving cloth, and keeping the fire alive. Can you see it? Aiko didn't fight a fox. She fought the fear in people's hearts, winning with love for Kenta, Hana, and even those who doubted her. Have you ever realized faith can outshine magic? Aiko did, and you're here, by the hearth, feeling that lesson. Step to the rice field, where green sprouts rise under the moon. Aiko kneels, touching the soil, whispering, "Rice will feed us." Can you hear the hope? She's not just speaking of crops, about the village, the future, the legacy she leaves through Hana, Yuki, the stories Kenta will tell. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Inari, the rice god, blessed villages that overcame trials. Aiko doesn't believe in gods, but in people. Sumi, Taro, even Akang, the once lazy youth now helping build homes. Have you ever seen human strength when people choose unity? Aiko sees it, and you're here, in the field, with her, sowing hope. Picture standing with Aiko, gazing at the sky. Stars twinkle, as if reminding you darkness never wins forever. Aiko speaks of her mother, who taught that fear is a blade, but love a shield. She left no gold, she says, but she left me. Can you feel the weight of her words? She wielded that shield, not just for her family, but to mend the village. Her legacy isn't talismans or rituals. It's a united village. Green sprouts, Hana growing fearless of the forest. Have you ever thought about what you'll leave the world? Aiko doesn't think she's special, but you know she's wrong. She's the flame, the heart of Forest's Edge Village. Stay here, under the moonlight. Aiko looks at you, her eyes bright, as if knowing you walked with her through dark nights. Faith is stronger than fear, she says, her voice soft. Do you understand? She's shown you that people, however ordinary, can overcome superstition, heal a community, and sow seeds for tomorrow. Do you want to carry this lesson? Because Aiko's story isn't just about Kitsune, it's about you, us, the power of faith. Still with me? Good, because you're here, on her porch, with her, embracing the moonlight and the lesson of a village that survived. As the moon's gentle glow bathes Forest's Edge Village, you sit beside Aiko on her porch, where the soft wind through the thatched roof mingles with the hearth's crackling fire from the small house. The rice fields beyond, once withered under the specter of Kitsune fear, now brim with green sprouts, a promise that the village has overcome its nightmare. Aiko, in simple clothes, cradles sleeping Hana, her straw doll fallen aside, her eyes shimmering as if reflecting the stars. Kenta, whittling a bamboo fish, smiles at his mother's story, while Hiroshi, axe nearby, gazes at his wife with quiet pride. The owl hoots, flickering lights, and Kitsune rumors have faded, replaced by Sumi's laughter, Taro's harvest tales, and Yuki's radiant smile. Can you feel the warm serenity, like a village rediscovering its light after darkness? Today, you'll join Aiko in summing up the journey through fear, reflecting on her legacy, and receiving a goodnight wish from a reborn community. Are you ready to close this story and carry its lesson forward? Look back on the journey with Aiko. Do you remember when the first night's wind carried Kitsune rumors, when she checked talismans with eyes sharp as blades? You saw her wade through the village's fear, from the shrine's exorcism ritual, through the deep forest to Miro, to the rice field where she found coal and a human footprint, debunking superstition. You witnessed her stand before a panicked mob, shielding Yuki from being called the Fox and guiding the villagers through the nightmare by sowing rice, weaving cloth, and keeping the fire alive. Aiko isn't a hero from sutras. She's a mother, a wife, a survivor, the flame of Forest's Edge Village. Have you ever seen an ordinary person's strength when they choose love over fear? Aiko is proof, and you've walked with her through every hoe stroke, every smile, every sleepless night. The village is now a new canvas. Firelight from neighboring homes twinkles, like candles igniting hope. Sumi shares tofu, Taro speaks of rice, and Yuki, once shunned, laughs with children at the market. Aiko, seeking no glory, sowed seeds, taught Kenta to face fear, and showed Hana that love outshines superstition. She turned fear, roof tappings, flickering lights, Kitsune rumors, into a strength uniting the village. Can you see it? Her legacy isn't just green sprouts or a sturdy house. It's a united village, Yuki's reclaimed place, Kenta growing with courage. Have you ever seen someone quietly transform a community? Aiko did, and you're here, on her porch, feeling her strength. Reflect on this story's lesson. Aiko taught you that fear is a sharp, dangerous blade, but faith and love are a stronger shield, outshining even Kitsune magic. Do you recall when she found the coal in the forest, not to prove Kitsune false, but to save the village from self-destruction? You saw her sing lullabies to Hana through dark nights, stand for Yuki against an angry crowd, and sow rice when the village trembled. Want to know a curious detail? Kamakura-era people believed Inari, the rice god, blessed villages that overcame trials. Aiko doesn't believe in gods, but in people. Sumi, Yuki, Akong, Kenta, who chose to rise with her. Have you ever realized faith in each other can outshine deities? Aiko did, and you've seen her turn fear into light. Stay here, under the moonlight, feeling the hearth's warmth and the gentle breeze. Aiko looks at you, her eyes not just a mother's, but those of one who led a village through darkness. Living is choosing faith, she says, her voice soft as the wind. Do you understand? She's shown you that ordinary people can conquer superstition, heal divisions, and sow tomorrow's seeds. Her legacy will endure through Hana, Yuki, the rice sprouts, and the story you carry. What will you take from this journey? Aiko's courage, her love, or the lesson that a village is stronger when it chooses love over fear? Have you ever thought about your own strength facing darkness? Aiko has, and she's shown you the light. Close your eyes. Let the streams murmur, the fires crackle, and the breeze lull you. You've seen a village survive, a woman lead, and a community reclaim itself. Good night, my friend. This story closes, but Aiko's light, her flame of faith, love, and resilience will stay with you, like moonlight on the rice fields.